ahead, just introduce yourself and say where you're from and everything.
Okay, I'm Van Edwards. I was born and raised here in Ponca City. And my family, I had several great grandfathers running the Cherokee Strip Run and settled land. And this property was one of my great granddads originally. He settled in here in somewhere around 1895. That's when this house was built, and started farming and started buying up property around this area. And at one time, he was farming like 8,000 acres with mules, which is hard for me to fathom today.
Right.
But we'd have a hard time doing that with equipment. But anyhow, there isn't any heirs left on our family that want to keep on farming, and so I'm 76, and so we're getting ready to. We've leased the property out this year, and the fellow that leased it's got the crops planted now, and so we're getting out of the business, and I'm retiring, and we've kept real good care of our equipment, and the guys I have using it were very conscientious, and we don't farm a lot of. We farm about 1,000 acres, and consequently we don't put a lot of miles or hours on our equipment, but and we try to keep them in good shape and run them good. And we do some double cropping. We double crop wheat and soybeans and some corn, and so there is a little double cropping involved. We have run cattle. We've run as much as 175 head of cows at one time, but we don't have a lot of pasture land, so we had to farm them out in the summer, and that got to be kind of a little too hectic. So
Right.
we've cut down on farming the cattle operation. We've sold all the cattle now. So anyhow, we're selling this equipment and hope it works as good for some other people as it has for us. And
Why did you decide to sell with Big Iron?
well, we had asked around a little bit. I bought a piece of equipment through one of your competitors at one time, and I knew a little bit about it. And so I was visiting with our John Deere dealer at Blackwell, P&K, and they recommended Big Iron. Said that they got along really good, and people that they knew that had used it prior. And so that's when I called and got set up, and everything so far looked great.
Good deal. Tell us a little bit about some of the equipment you're selling, and just a little brief description of some of the equipment.
Give you a little background. My uncle, who was involved in this, and was a Massey Ferguson dealer here in Ponca City from World War. Started at the end of World War II, and we sold out maybe 15 years ago, and that's why we still have a few pieces of old Massey Ferguson equipment. But we started shifting over to John Deere about 10 or 15 years ago, and we bought the tractor and the combine both the same year, and have got along really well with both of them. We used to be strictly wheat farmers here with wheatland farming. That's why we had the old 4-wheel drive tractor. Well, we've changed over in the last 10 or 12 years to mostly row crop farming, soybeans and corn, and so that makes that wheatland stuff a little bit obsolete, and that's why we went to row crop equipment. And so we haven't used we bought that air seeder about 6 or 7 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, and we love it. And I especially like the unit that has the cart on the back, which
Right.
this does, and covers a lot of ground. And of course, don't do no more acres than we have. We haven't put that many hours on any of this equipment. The tractor is a '99 model, and so is the combine, and they've held up really good. And we don't do any custom work. We just do our own work.
Okay. Let's see. I was trying to think. You pretty well covered all of all of them that I had down. I didn't even have to ask you very many questions because you was covering it already.
I've got the sales pitch down pretty good because
Yeah.
we have weddings and a lot of stuff here, and
Right.
we have a lot of people coming in wanting to look, wanting to know about the ranch, and so I'm used to giving that sales pitch.
You told me that this farm is isn't it part of the historical society or
Yeah.
something? You might mention that. You know about that?
It's registered with a historical society. This building was built in this house was built in 1895. This is where my great granddad, and he had 4 children. Now those 4 children, only one of them had any children. It was my grandmother, and so all the heirs are Edwardses now. That's how this Vanselous Ranch came to be run by Edwardses. So anyhow, I have several cousins and several in my family. And all our younger generation a lot of them are girls mostly, and they're not interested in farming, and neither are the what boys we have there. My granddad Edwards who married the Vanselous, was a car dealer and was the former mayor of Ponca City. He was a car dealer for many years in Ponca, and so anyhow, we have kind of quite a history. And actually, the ranch was sold in 1972, and my uncle bought part of this over here, and my dad bought all the land that sits south of the river, which was mostly pasture land, and that's where I was raised. And then we've accumulated it back. My uncle accumulated a big part of this farmland back over the years, and his daughter owns most of the farmland now. And anyhow, I worked for Cargill and for years and retired, and so I was roped into helping management. And my uncle was 95, passed away a couple of years ago, but he was involved heavily in it. And so I'm about ready to retire too. So
Right. Okay. I think that's good.